Welcome aboard the Fly 82. In this video, I'll show you how Azimut has raised the bar for the Fly series with this new model, building on and scaling up its familiar strengths of space, sociality, and as always, style. Before we get started with our tour, a couple of highlights to look out for. First, the privacy. Concentrating all of the crew areas towards the forepart of the main deck and the lower deck allows us to close them off with a sliding door, and the crew can still access anywhere on board with the side door, but it means that guests won't be running into the crew as they go about enjoying their day. Second, the incredible accommodations. Down below, we have a full beam master suite accompanied by 2 VIPs and a guest bedroom, all with their own private ensuite bathroom. And third, right here on the cockpit, we have the Deck2Deck solution, which extends the space towards the sea and gives you all the room you need to enjoy served dinners here on the exterior. So let's go and discover all that this yacht has to offer. You can immediately sense the step up in scale from the moment you step on board here in the cockpit. And Azimut has put the space to good use with this wonderful orientation of the sofas, both with clear sea views, neither looking back in towards the interior of the yacht. That allows you to appreciate the incredible amount of space and the openness of the cockpit here. It's a perfect complement because these seats are so thin that you even have a great view from the interior of the saloon. Nobody would suspect, given all this and the comfort of this furniture, that they're easily openable to reveal large amounts of storage beneath. They're situated around a low table here in its lounge configuration, lowered and folded up that is, but this table can also be raised and folded out in order to provide dining for all 8 overnight guests. The accommodation is super comfortable because you have 2 guests per side, so 2 on each sofa, and then you can place freestanding seats, yes, towards the saloon, and then also towards the stern. And you're probably wondering, where's the space for that? Well, Azimut has a proprietary solution that makes it possible, and it even leaves extra space for the crew to move all the way around the table and serve. So check it out. This is the Deck2Deck solution. It takes 1 crew member just about 5 minutes to transform the cockpit into a much larger version of itself, with extra room at the end, even closer to the sea for your freestanding furniture, which can either extend the dining arrangement here or serve to create a little lounge after your lounge. As you can see, however you do it, it's a lot of space to play with and enjoy here on the stern, close by the water, and any guests who might be actually enjoying a swim or some time with their water toys. So here I want to point out what really makes this solution work is the simplicity. Number 1, being able to just move back your guardrail towards the stern, and number 2, the incredible flush connection, the precision engineering that goes into making this extension feel like a natural part of the aft deck. Here we have 2 options for shade. There's actually a privacy curtain that can come down here, which makes sense when you don't have the Deck2Deck system open. When you do, you're able to actually place carbon fiber supports and a manual awning that covers this entire area from the sun. Just below us, you probably noticed that the Deck2Deck system also functions as a transom hatch. So you have a beautiful appearance from behind. You have this teak finishing all the way across the transom. So when it opens up, it actually reveals the tender garage, which can accommodate up to 3.9 meters, plus a sea bob or other small water toys to the side. Then you have your hydraulic platform down there, of course, and just look at the work that goes into designing even these exterior furnishings, the rope motif, the exposed natural grain wood, and our last stop before we reach the interiors is the wet bar. It's really necessary because when you have a forward galley, you need a local hub for your drink service. And with a sink up above, with a bin here for any trash, and with an ice maker, it really provides all that you need to host your guests outdoors. And then it has a surprise in addition. It has your 3rd helm station right here, complete with joystick, your side thrusters, and a little screen here so you can monitor the engines. This is what you need, especially for tight maneuvers or mooring operations when you're going stern to and you want to have the best possible view. And I can say that this is yet another advantage of the Deck2Deck solution, this open-ended cockpit, which gives you such a clear view down, especially when the hatch is closed, to the water. And here, entering the saloon, we have our first impression of the interior design by Fabio Fantolino. Of course, he previously collaborated with Azimut on the Fly 62 and Fly 72 models, and this is his biggest project yet. You can see how he treats the space differently as a result. He leverages the abundance of space to make decisions more on the basis of lifestyle than in terms of efficiency. And what that means is, instead of squeezing in as many sofas as possible, as many yachts do, this time he's decided to use freestanding furniture in order to allow us to appreciate these nearly full-height windows with the cutouts in the bulwark to match. As you can see, both in terms of the armchairs here and also in terms of the L-shaped sofa, it has an incredible effect. With furniture this beautiful, it's hard to suspect that each one might actually have functions beyond just comfortable seating. For example, here we already have the full cushion opening up to reveal a storage large enough for multiple full-size suitcases, and discover that all the other cushions open up as well. So it's not just about beauty and comfort, it's also about functionality and of course providing storage where guests need it, because it's never enough on yachts, as we all know. Fabio Fantolino is mostly focused on harmony as a means of creating comfort, and he does that by balancing elements, contrasting, and of course using neutral elements that are very comfortable and easy to look at, absent of reflections. The contrast here, for example, between the dark straps and the soft fabric is a great example. Looking as well at his treatment of the furnishings like this coffee table, the way that these inset pieces of wood, which both function as supports, but also in a way organizing the space. This is another example of how he's bringing forward the design of the series. And here to the starboard side, we have our one and only full height storage module, which features a beautiful light design over on the side and an interesting mirror detail inset flush with the wood. But what's really interesting here is the light programming. Here we have 6 buttons corresponding to 6 different settings for all of the lights on the main deck, setting them instantly. So for example, the day setting actually keeps the lights pretty low. It just wants to fill in some of the areas that stay dark even during the day, like the stairs. Whereas for afternoon, the lights get a little stronger, and then for evening they're at their strongest, while at night it provides you just enough light to see where you're going. Then you have special modes, like on this model we have TV, but I've also seen yachts with the dining mode. And in that case, what happens is the lighting is set to specially synergize with the activity that you have on board. So for example, dining mode, you would practically have a spotlight over the dining table while the rest of the room dims. And for TV, of course, you want to keep it pretty dark for optimal viewing, while not making it so dark that guests have trouble finding the bathroom. And off is really convenient to have here as well, because when you're heading off the boat, you can press one button and walk away. So there's a TV specific setting for the lights. Then where's the TV? The sofa's there, but we have no furniture here to hide it away. Well, like much larger yachts, it's hidden away in the ceiling. And that gives you perfect viewing angles from the corner of the room and even from the dining table. Now, the dining table is something really special, because when you have this amount of space to play with, you can make choices that are truly dedicated to creating the most social and enjoyable space for guests. And a round table has that effect. It's so much more social. It provides the context, allowing you to converse as a group. And you have this nice marble finish. Really, there's room for 8 guests to gather around. It creates a really warm, cozy, and welcoming place to have an interior meal. And look at this light fixture. It's just one of the many interesting touches added by Fantolino. Arriving down on the lower deck, your first stop after the stair is the full beam master cabin. And just look at how wide it is. But it's not really about how much space you have, it's more about how you use it. And when you have a lot of space and use it well, that's the perfect marriage. Here, for example, you have an example of just that, a full walk-in closet for the couple. And as you can see, you could get dressed in here. There's room not just to choose your clothes, but to put them on. And you can imagine a couple both being able to check out different sides of the closet at the same time in here. Something really nice. But also plenty of storage. Here on the port side, for example, we have a system of drawers, beautiful Bordeaux color, sculptural wooden handles, and integrated LED lighting for a better view of what exactly you have inside. Then, right about where this sculptural marble top begins, we come to the vanity. And here inside, again, we have an organized space, beautiful LED lighting in your mirror, and the space works just as well as a desk if you have to get a little work done in the peace and quiet of the master suite. That brings us towards the center of the room, where this piece of furniture actually hides away your full-size TV. It covers the entire wall here, and it's perfect for viewing directly from bed. Behind it, a couple of neatly tucked away shelves, and that brings us all the way over to the starboard side, where we have yet again more storage space, more comfortable seating, and your ensuite bathroom. The detail work on this door is something really special because, of course, when you close the door to your bathroom, sometimes on a boat, it can feel quite tight. But something that really helps with that, in addition to the windows with the opening section that you have here in the master bathroom, is this inset mirror, which is perfectly flush with the wood. It makes you feel like this is really one solid piece, and it is. So it's the absolute highest level of quality and finishing for your bathroom. Then right next to the bed, this is something I really appreciate. Not only do you have your outlets for charging overnight tucked away here in a storage that has a hole dedicated to allowing that cable to come out and connect to your phone while it stays accessible. And then right behind it, you have all of your light controls accessible directly from bed without even getting up. So the convenience and comfort here in the master cabin is absolute. We actually have a rather large storage here just at the entrance. So as you can see, there's plenty of room for keeping things like pillows, sheets, towels, and whatever else you might need right here in the master cabin. Now, let's see that bow VIP. The first VIP cabin is the closest one to the bow. We're not directly nestled into the bow as we see on many yachts, but instead a bit to the side here. And the results are fantastic. First of all, we have full height ceilings, allowing us to walk comfortably around the entire bed. And second, we have extra room for storage and niceties like the TV and the mirror that covers it up when it's not being used. There's one storage right by the door, and there's a second one here, which allows you to keep all of your hangables as well as folded clothes. Then nightstands next to both sides of the bed, integrated with your lighting controls, your outlets, comfortable storage, and of course, a little bit of an edge on the surface so that nothing slides off. Then on the opposite side of the bed, we have our ensuite bathroom, which comes with its own shower, quite large and comfortable, as well as, of course, the marble countertop and plenty of storage down below for toiletries. No space goes to waste, so of course you also have storage here above your nightstand, shelves. Actually, the top shelf is quite deep, and of course, integrated LED lighting so you always know what you're looking at. And the largest storage of all, of course, is the one that we find under the bed. And this is where you'll be putting away really large items like the suitcase that you use to bring all of your belongings for your trip. What's really nice about the way Azimut does these underbed storage volumes, because they're so large, is that the shipyard actually organizes them for you based on the size of what most guests need to bring. And that helps things stay neat and tidy on board. Offering a second VIP stateroom is certainly one of the greatest accomplishments of the Fly 82. And as you can see, there's not much to want for in this room. Of course, your bed is slightly tapered in order to give more space to move comfortably around it with full height ceilings. But in terms of everything, I mean storage, for example, between what you have overhead, beneath the bed, in your full height closet, there's plenty. And then you won't want for views. You have your own private ensuite bathroom with a shower and all of the comforts. And we have a mirror here by the door to check yourself out in before you head upstairs, which also doubles as your TV because behind it, there's a screen that when it turns on, you can see perfectly clearly through. So it's a complete VIP stateroom, a second one, and an 82-foot boat. And finally, the double cabin features twin berths, each positioned comfortably distant from the other, with just space in between for a united nightstand. But don't worry, there's plenty of outlets and storage space for both guests occupying this cabin to keep their things at hand. Of course, you have your lighting controls at hand, then the light fixtures, of course, adding a soft glow to the room together with this large hull-side window. Now here we have our full height storage with all the room you need to hang clothes and also keep some folded down below and extra things like shoes and whatever you might need to take with you on your adventure. And then something that you don't typically find in double cabins like this, an ensuite bathroom with a quite generous shower, I must say. I love the teak and especially that black detail in between the planks because it gives you exactly the feeling of being in a kind of yacht spa. And I think that's how everyone wants to feel when they're showering after a fresh swim. Now, let's head back upstairs and go through that sliding door so that we can discover all of the spaces dedicated to the crew. Now, as we make our way towards the galley, I have to show you that some of the glassware is actually kept here. So you have a fitted storage, no rattling when you're underway, no broken glasses, and conveniently close by the galley, your table, as well as the lounge. Moving all the way forward on the main deck, we come to the day head, perfectly positioned to give guests a little bit of privacy so that they don't have to walk into the bathroom in the middle of the room, but here, a little bit removed from the social setting. Beyond the day head, the forward part of the yacht is entirely dedicated to service areas. So here we have the galley next to our crew mess and the interior helm station. And down below, we have the crew quarters, all of which separable from the guest areas by this sliding wooden door. But the crew will still have access to any area of the yacht via the side door. There are clean, easy, and uninterrupted pathways for the crew to access all of the various areas on board without ever unnecessarily interrupting guest privacy. And as far as workplaces go, this area isn't bad. We've got an incredible amount of glazing that brings in tons of light to this fore part of the main deck and illuminates the galley. We also have an opening section of the window here, so it's possible to enjoy a beautiful day here as well. As you can see, the fridge is full size. We have 2 doors and it has an integrated water cooler with ice dispensing as well. Then we have Miele appliances, the oven down below, induction cooktop up above, and then our extractor above. In addition, as I mentioned, to our openable section of the window. Then the basics, sink, storage, whatever you might need here. Additionally, space below the sink, your bin, additional storage, your washing machine for the dishes, and then we have a wine cooler here. Now, what's really special about this design, which I think it's such a clever detail, the fact that this extension of your countertop space has been positioned such that it also creates a safety guard for the stairs. So say that you're having a bit of weather, you might feel safer washing dishes here at the sink, knowing that you physically can't fall down the stairs thanks to this extension of the countertop space. So it's a safety feature and of course a convenience. The crew mess is such an important place because allowing the crew to enjoy their meals somewhere comfortable and also just have a seat and relax a bit throughout the day helps them maintain that positive mental attitude, which allows them to do a great job for you. Down below, we have 3 berths for the crew, 1 bed separate and 2 in the form of bunks, and an optional separation that can be placed between them for privacy, for example, if you have crew members of different genders. There's also a bathroom downstairs with a separate shower, full height of course, and plenty of storage for the crew to make use of. Downstairs, we also have our washer and dryer units. 2 separate units, that is. So in a way, this whole part of the yacht really belongs to the crew. It's their space and it has absolutely everything they need to do their jobs and to enjoy it. And that takes us to the helm station. The first and most important thing to know about the Fly 82 here at the helm station is that this yacht uses triple IPS propulsion, either IPS 1200 systems or, as in the case of this particular unit, the IPS 1350, which actually has 1,000 horsepower, but each engine actually performs as if it had roughly 1,350 horsepower if it were a stern drive. So they call it the 1350. And with 3 of them working together, so smaller motors but more of them, we're able to see a number of impressive benefits, namely efficiency, space savings, and maneuverability. So let's first talk about the maneuverability. Essentially, the central IPS actually serves only to give us extra propulsion forwards, while the lateral ones are spaced further apart than usual and rotate in order to turn the yacht, especially useful when you're using your joystick. But having that extra distance between the lateral drives actually allows us to turn more rapidly. So the Fly 82 handles like a significantly smaller yacht in terms of agility and turning radius. Then I mentioned the spatial efficiency. That's because using smaller engines, meaning lower and also more compact in terms of the space that they occupy on your lower deck footprint. That means you have more space in the garage for your tender. Remember, we have a 3.9 meter slot there, and more space on the lower deck for the cabins. And finally, the efficiency, which is important because it is perhaps the most important factor which qualifies the Fly 82 for membership in Azimut's family of low-emission yachts, which means that the consumption is reduced from 20 to 30% with respect to traditional yachts of the same size using traditional hull architecture and propulsion. So it's not just the triple IPS, the use of these smaller, more efficient engines that allows us to reach those incredible benchmarks. It's also the construction of the superstructure in carbon fiber, lowering the center of gravity and reducing the overall weight, and the special design of the hull to perfectly synergize with the motorization and to give us the absolute best possible water flow across the lines. Then, of course, given that we are using the IPS systems, that brings us to the Garmin displays. Here we have a triple setup, which is certainly enough space to manage all of your systems simultaneously if that's what you need to do. So you have absolutely all of the systems that you may need to manage in terms of controlling your environment on board the yacht, from the lights to the air conditioning, which we have here. You, of course, can synchronize all the settings, or you can go one by one and change the zones. Then DC power, pumps, levels, alarms, chain counter, everything. Of course, given that it is Garmin with our IPS, we have our engine readings directly integrated into the displays. And something new, Azimut is the first shipyard in the world to install the Watch It Eye AI monitoring system inside of their electronics. And what that means is that in addition to the captain, you have a second set of eyes, AIs, which are watching your back at all times, taking readings from the AIS system, the depth sounder even to look for underwater threats, your GPS, a proprietary radar made by Watch It, and all the other systems that can possibly feed us useful information to watch for threats based on our current heading. So when you leave the yacht on autopilot, just make sure you turn on Watch It Eye, and that way you'll hear quite loudly that there's an alarm whenever an object is possibly presenting a dangerous obstacle in your path. And something important to keep in mind is that you can, of course, mute it when you go in the marina. You don't want to be hearing alerts all the time. But in moments when you want to keep an extra eye out and be really careful about your surroundings, you can turn this system on and have the full power of AI watching your back. With the triple IPS 1350 configuration, the Fly 82 can reach up to 32 knots. And what a joy to drive. I mean, something about these new steering wheels, the new design, so simplistic and essential, it really makes it enjoyable to take the helm, whether you're here or up above on the Flybridge. But let's go get some fresh air now and check out the bow and the Flybridge. The swept-back design of the Fly 82, designed of course by Alberto Mancini, who always likes to go for a sleek exterior. It's a feature that helps us to open up the sky above the bow lounge and to enjoy our panoramic views even more. And of course, we have the perfect arrangement here on the lounge in order to enjoy this incredible nature. So right here we have our counter-facing sofa lounge, so built around this coffee table and with all the comforts of the interior design. So you recognize, for example, this detail. We have our cup holders, cushions. The table in the middle has a space where you can be sure nothing is going to slide off. And you even have your inset lamps. So, what are you missing? I wouldn't say anything. Then we have our sunbathing area here. And while it may look like it's just for comfort and a bit of aesthetics, actually, it's another place where we hide a wealth of storage. So there's room underneath for all of your gear that's relevant to the area, for example, fenders, covers, and cleaning supplies. It's important to mention that this isn't just an area for enjoyment in the morning or the evening. In fact, even if you're not sunbathing, you can enjoy the lounge here all day long, thanks to the optional biminis. So there's one full-length bimini that you can use to cover the entire area. And as a choice, you can also decide to go with the bimini, which is segmented. So you can choose to have just the lounge shaded, just the sunbathing shaded, or both at the same time. So you have a lot of options in how you want to enjoy this bow area. And that takes us all the way to the Flybridge. Let's get started on the aft part of the Flybridge, because that's the part that represents what this series is all about. Freedom. You have this massive space to do whatever you like with. At the moment, you can see that it's been configured with freestanding furniture. So we have 2 seats, 1 for 2, 1 for 3, and a little coffee table in the middle. But it's also possible to have a U-shaped sofa running all the way around this peninsular end to the Flybridge. And then you can mix and match all different kinds of solutions. For example, you can place an extra storage cabinet right here for more capacity, and then move this 2-seater across to the middle part of the deck. And there's so many different options, it's really impossible to go through them all, because at the end of the day, it's an open space that you can use how you like. It's even possible to have a full-size jacuzzi right here to port, and an attached sunbathing module, which still leaves the starboard side open for your storage cabinet or additional seating. Coming to amidships, you can see just how enjoyable freestanding furniture makes this space. So the table is a perfect example, because here we can move all the way around, both in order to access our seats as guests and to serve as crew. It's served by an American bar, which not only contains everything that you need to host parties, like for example, your refrigerator, ice maker, bins, even an integrated grill in addition to your sink, but it also has this amazing service top, which appears to float from many perspectives, a nice design detail that also forms a perfect place for a couple to have a seat and enjoy a drink. So that brings us forward towards the helm, but not all the way there yet, because right here we come under the section of the hardtop, which has a glass window. So that allows us to experience some of the sun's strength. It's a bit tinted, so it's softened. And a little further forward, we have an openable section. So there's electronic controls at the helm station, and you can open it all the way up. The hardtop itself is something quite beautiful designed by Alberto Mancini. And it stands out from the design of the rest of the yacht because it's a bit more military, a bit more structural and geometric compared to the sleek lines of the yacht. But this actually helps to integrate it. And certainly one detail which I noticed as soon as I came on board is the particular matte gray finish on just the interior portion of the hardtop. So the outside is white, just like the rest of the yacht. And on the inside, we have this matte gray. And that takes us forward to where we have one more storage cabinet and our sunbathing. Now, it's important to note that in the past, when we work with the fixed sofas, many times it's convenient because we can load those up with storage. With this amount of storage on the Flybridge between the American bar, this little storage here, and the optional one on the aft, we really didn't need that extra space from the sofa, and so that gave us the freedom to have the freestanding table set. Now, that brings us finally to the most enjoyable place to drive the Fly 82. This is the exterior helm. So you can see a good amount of thought has been put into it, not just with the robust seats backed by the storage cabinet, but also, I have to say, by the positioning, because first of all, you have the driver over here to the extreme, meaning that if you have a co-pilot, they don't have to wait for the driver to finish his maneuver to stand up. They can come and go as they please and keep the owner navigating a bit of company as they make way. Then, of course, together with this large sunbathing area, you have plenty of room to socialize while you cruise. So if the way that you like to enjoy yachting is taking the helm yourself and gathering your friends and family around you and just going for a bit of a drive, then this is certainly a good yacht to do that as well, even if it's on the large end of yachts for driving pleasure. But with the triple IPS, it still feels quite sporty, and 32 knots up here is no joke. That pretty much rounds it up. I believe we've covered all of the major aspects and highlights of the Fly 82. And what it adds up to is really raising the bar for the Fly series and expanding our concept of the philosophy, which is really focused on fun, style, and space. And as you've seen today, you'll have plenty of all three on board the new Fly 82. So make sure to check it out as soon as possible. Go to the link in the description and find the product page and get in touch with your local dealer, because this is a very special yacht.